Because you jumped right to that.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you look at the questions, they're multi-layered. A lot of times there's like, so you gotta make sure when you answer the question, go back and go, did I answer this part? Did I answer this part? Did I answer this part?
Okay.
Because a lot of times it's just that kind of thing, right? So let's answer that question. How did this happen?
There was a long period of time that God didn't show up.
Yeah, but there's something else going on though. What else? And I explained this. In fact, I applied it even today to the American church. What's causing that lukewarmness, that lack of fervor, passion, zeal for God? What's your Shibboleth? Your problem.
Money.
Money. I talked about
Oh
this.
yeah, the
Prosperity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that the later generations have, basically enjoyed all the rewards and benefits of the prior generations, right? And so now they've got it pretty good, and so they don't need God as much because they pretty much got all this stuff. Good morning. Right? Now remember, and this is the thing, that in class I'm literally telling you the answers to the questions. Okay, I usually avoid. All the time I avoid trying to give you extra stuff that I'm not going to use on the quiz and the test. And so like when parents get mad and say, why didn't my little Abigail didn't know this? And I said, well, let's look at her notes. And 9 times out of 10, it's right there in her notes. She just, for some reason, didn't see it. Okay, so. All right, what else? We're looking at the quiz here, Addie.
Okay.
Okay, well, let's talk about the whole thing about the demographics. That's going to be a challenge for all of you.
Is that the honorable?
I'm sorry?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
The whole thing, the Russians, right? Annie? Allie? Who's Al?
I'm Addie.
I'm Allie. That's Addie.
For some reason, when your dad wrote me, or hopefully, wait, did your dad write me? Or did your dad write me?
I don't think it was my
mom.
dad.
My mom emailed you.
Okay, she
Or my dad. I don't know. It was my mom. It definitely was my mom.
Oh gosh, you know what? It was weird because I wrote back and I was thinking about the wrong person. All right, we're good.
Whoops.
Equally applies, I guess. Okay, so back
Yes.
to.
You did mention how me and Allie are both new. I remember that.
You have a sister here, though, right?
Yes.
So does she.
So you messed me up.
Oh, I forgot that Trinity's your sister.
But I don't have Trinity.
No, she's in your.
Right, Emma.
Yes.
Yes. I know your sister. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yes.
No, Trinity's in the other room.
You're right. She's
Sophomore.
in the 6th more. Yeah. Right. Gotcha. Russians. Okay. Bad. No. Okay.
Russian's bad, guys.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, so I know on question 3
Uh-huh.
that some people were like, when Jews was there. I just picked Russians because I didn't hear Russians.
There you go.
So.
If anything doesn't quite look right, then chances are that's the right answer. Okay. All right. So going back to think about education and the Puritans. Okay. You can provide 2 examples to demonstrate blah blah blah. You said the Puritans made schools for children. Okay. Now there's a problem right there. Okay. It's true, but I want examples. When I say examples, that's a statement. That's not an example.
Okay.
Right. So where's an example where the Puritans made schools for their children?
The 50.
Yeah, and what is that called?
The Old Duluth State.
Yeah, there you go, 1647, right. Bam, okay. And we're literally in class, I read that, okay. So in your notes, you should have something.
It was I had the name, I just couldn't remember it at the time. The Massachusetts School Law of 1647.
Yeah.
And then is Harvard the second?
You can use Harvard. What I was looking for though was the primer. The primer.
Did I say the primer?
It was on the very next page. It was that
colonial
picture
primer
where they said A is for Adam, B is for Bible, C is for.
Okay, because what I did this weekend was I found a bunch of answers because
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because even on this question here, Allie, I should have marked you all the way off. They also make universities for people to learn trades. this letter turned into Ivy League universities, okay? So there was actually, I think the only reason I gave you credit is because you put the word primer, okay? And reason, let me read this, just make sure you understand what I'm saying. These schools were primer, which meant beginning, okay? This is where children were taught to read and write, okay? So, a primer is it's like a book. It's like if I give you a primer on the Puritans or on the Declaration of Independence, it's literally material for you to interpret something. Okay. So it's not a school. So there's some little bit of confusion there. All right. So going back Addie, we're just looking at the quiz. On number 5, the whole thing about the different people groups where they settle. Okay. Now there's the thing on that is that, which always surprises me, there's only a couple that are in the book, right? Mm-hmm. So you have the first one are the which,
he's asking for an answer.
I'm looking for an answer. I'm
Repeat the question though.
Yeah.
Okay, demographics, people groups, immigrants coming into the country. Who's the first group that we read?
I have this.
There's only 2 that we particularly said. I said you need to know this.
Germans?
Germans, that's right, because that was Pennsylvania Dutch, Deutsch thing, right? You know, their location, which a monkey could know, and then the percentage, remember? And what's the percentage for the Germans?
6.
6. And again, for memory peg, the Germans are 6, and the Scots-Irish are 7, all right? So you should see stuff like that going, oh yeah, boom, boom. And then, so Allie, you went to New Jersey. I don't know where you got New Jersey. Yeah.
I went to don't.
And the Protestant denomination, again, so you should know that. Which denomination do the Scots-Irish belong to? On top of your head, boom, in your head, because you should correct this. It should be in your head now. Presbyterian, yeah. Because remember, the Germans are going to be which group? Which religion? The Germans. Come on.
Lutheran.
Cards in my car.
Oh.
I need to go get them.
Lutheran?
Lutheran, right? Protestant. Okay, remember Martin Luther, German. They're Lutherans. Okay, all right. On the epidemic question, boy, I knew people were going to miss this one. People don't die from chickenpox or hay fever or you want deadly diseases kind of stuff, right?
Wow.
Yellow fever, scarlet fever. No, not small. Oh, so yeah, smallpox. Sorry, I just said chickenpox. Yeah, smallpox, influenza, cholera, dysentery. Take your pick. Take your disease. All right. There's this, and it's killing lots of people even today. Just boom, it still exists. And then the preventative measure, inoculations. That's right. There you go. Okay. Because what was happening is that people were describing inoculations without actually saying inoculation. So I don't.
Do we need to define it?
You can just summarize it. Just make it quick. Just inoculate. People being inoculated or something like that.
Okay.
On the quiz, that gentleman, that's where we're at. You might want to pull that out and join the party. I see you there, Cole. Yeah. I was a little surprised people didn't get the picture, right? That was one of the very first pictures we looked at. And so the artist for this picture is
John Trumbull.
John Trumbull, that's right. And you already should know what the event is. Remember, with every painting, it's identify the artist, who's the subject, and anything unusual about what the artist is doing here, right? So you already know the event is
The draft.
It's a draft. The committee of 5, right? And you got the funky thing about either there you go, boom. The other one, well, good morning. All of the economies. Okay, I already told people you're going to get messed up on this. People got messed up on this. All right. So that's on page. Where this thing at? Blah. It was on page 86. So again, when you have a question, I've already foretold like a prophet and said, you're probably gonna have problems with this. Then it would behoove you to I need to really focus on this one, right? So for example, Ironworks, okay, this young lady here she had north and south and middle. Now, if I look on my mappy thing here, okay, I'm gonna give her credit because, Ironworks, she's gotten there in Baltimore, okay? Remember, Baltimore is the capital of Maryland, right? Yes, it is still. And so technically it is all three regions, okay? And so, again, you can use more than one region there, Callahan. And that's why it says using the various regions, match the instances with their general location. And you notice I put even the word little s there next to it deliberately, so you would see that it could be plural, okay? That's what the s stands for. Okay, yeah. All right, tobacco. That's an easy one. All right, right. South primarily. I think this here. So tobacco is the brownie thing. Now this person here put middle. Okay. You don't see a lot of. Remember, that's the breadbasket. The middle colonies. They're not growing a lot of tobacco, if any. Okay, so I would have a problem with that. So tobacco is always south, cotton south. You know, that kind of thing. Yeah.
But this I don't measure. It's in the middle on the map.
Yeah, I
No.
think it's some middle.
Yeah,
No.
it's on top of
Because you go to
Maryland.
the brownie thing, it's primarily you see Baltimore. I talk about that little
Yeah.
portion there.
But it's like in Delaware though. So like that's middle.
You know what? We're going to say the South, all right?
But the book.
The book. Here's people like, okay, just go south with me on this, okay? We'll just keep it simple. Furs and skins, again.
Appreciate it.
Now this is a little tricky, right? Furs and skins, right? That's a flat animal thing. They're primarily the frontier. That's right, because that's what all the animals are. The Indians are killing the animals. They're trading with people, right? Cattle and grain. Okay, that was, that's pretty much everywhere, right? And then shipbuilding is primarily going to be where? In the north. That's right. Okay, so you do. So you see the ships now. They do get a little bit into New York. There it looks like a little bit. I'm not quite sure if you put north and middle. I would probably hedge a little bit on that, let you have it. Okay, but primarily remember, New England is well known for shipping, fishing, whaling, that kind of stuff. Right.
So would just north be fine? And
That's
also
what you put
north
there.
and
I'll let that slide. Yes.
let that okay.
All right. All right. Another baffler is the three effects of the First Great Awakening. I wrote this on the board. Okay. I wrote this on the board. All right. Now, don't tell me more people become Christians. That's obvious. Okay. That's not what I'm looking for. All right. I almost groaned when I see that. It's like, of course. It's okay. Anyway, besides that, from that comes what?
Colleges.
Colleges. Okay. Remember, and colleges for what reason?
Seminary. No.
To train ministers, right? You remember, because all the Ivy League schools originally are founded to basically train ministers, and that's because there's more churches, right? Okay. I'm sorry, who, what?
Unity in America.
Okay, unity in America. Now again, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Unity in America. Wow, that means
The
okay.
revival brought America together in
Okay, he's mumbling because he's got head injuries, but the and he actually does have an injury. Okay, so but the point is again is that what did I say? What did I say? What did I say? What did I say?
Less crime.
Less crime. No, I did say that, but that's not what I'm looking for.
Like
So-
America's founding.
Well, go back to what he's mumbling about here, okay? Okay, remember the Great Awakening appears in all the colonies, There's a shared spiritual experience that these colonies are having, right? And so that is creating, quote, unity. But if you just say unity and not define what that unity is, it doesn't mean anything. That people can be unified over, Dutch Brothers coffee, It's like, yeah. So again, so there's another one. What's another effect? Missionary adventures, right? Again, missionary work to the Indians, missionaries to going to China and Japan and strange places around the world, India. Oh yeah, in that time it was, exotic, yes. Yeah, you can go to those places and die pretty much, yeah. Okay, yeah. What else? Anything else?
What was the one you said you talked about?
I don't know. I'm just talking. Anything else that's on your paper? Was that?
I think 3.
You did mean three. Okay, good. All right.
Number 2.
We've already covered that.
Yeah, we
Gotta
already
be here on
covered
time.
three.
Okay, what's that?
So we already covered 3.
Okay. And the last one on question number 10 here about matching up the denominations with the location. Again, I was baffled by your baffling on that. So for example, the very first one with Congregationalists, they're also known as Puritans. And so therefore, New England is like your starting point. Okay, if I look at that and say, oh, it's a different number, it's not number 3, then automatically it's half off. Okay. The Anglicans can be a little tricky, all right, because again, they're in the South and they're also where? New York, that's right. Those old pesky Presbyterians, the Scots-Irish, are located where?
Frontier.
The frontier. The Dutch Reformed,
New York.
here in New York, we talked about the Dutch influence in New York and all that kind of stuff. And of course, the Quakers are in PA. And again, you just see PA automatically, boom. That's just, because it's the only time you see it on there, all right? So you should know that. That should have been like a gimme there, a gimme. All right, so that we've covered the quiz, all right? Now, my question to you, and I'm sure your parents have asked you the same question, is why were you baffled? Why were you baffled? Besides, again, you have to learn how to study, all right? You have to think again about how to organize this information, all right? So let's go back to where we started, and we got Bacon's Rebellion, all right? Old Bacon's Rebellion. Now you got 2 rebellions in this story, right? You got 2 rebellions, right? You got Bacon's and you got Paxton Boys. Thank you very much, Scarlett. That's right. And so, if you're in college someday, Lord willing, a lot of times these are, this is an easy question in the sense you'll say, compare and contrast. Compare and contrast. How are these 2 events similar? And how are these 2 events not similar? Okay, a monkey could do this, again.
So, one, the Indian was wrong.
Yeah, there's,
The
right.
What do they call it? Bacon's Rebellion, so
Yes.
they ended up burning down the town.
Well, you're automatically going to something that's different, okay, and that's fine, okay? But I'm saying, how are they similar?
Oh, they're both found at the Indians.
Yeah, okay, so let's talk about the Indians. Now, just don't write, they're mad at the Indians, okay, or something like that, okay? I cry when I see that. Okay, so a lot of times it has to do with land, right? There's conflict with the Indians and land, or the Indians have been attacking them, and the government, the local authorities are not doing anything about it, right? Remember, this is again about Bacon feeling like Berkeley just doesn't care, right? And so they get frustrated. Same thing with the Paxton Boys, they're in the frontier, they're being attacked by the Indians, they fight back, and then so let's kill a bunch of Indians, right? And they feel the Philadelphian Quaker government is unresponsive as well, okay? That's a similarity, right? And you could argue land, maybe if you want to stretch it out a little bit. Obviously, it's always about land. You know, somebody has land, you want the land, you want to kill them for the land, take the land. It's all about America. Okay, okay. And then all the differences are a multitude. I mean, the dates are different, the places are different, the individuals are different. So if I even ask you for like two dissimilarities or 3 dissimilarities, you should be able to give me like a whole bunch of stuff, right? But again, I'm looking for, these are not seriously baffling questions. You just have to think it through, right? Yes? Okay, all right. We already talked about the education stuff at the New England. That was on the quiz. I'm not going to do that again. What else? Oh, so decline in religion. Okay, so that was on the board. All right. We've already talked about question number 1 has to do with the decline in religion and why. We talked about that already here. So if you don't have that answer, get it from somebody who was here earlier. All right. Now, effects. Remember, it's one thing to say, okay, this is what's causing it, but these are the effects of it, all right? Cause and effect relationships. You got Jeremiads, halfway covenant, again, and Salem witch trials, right? Now, for regulars, you have the Jeremiad question, all right? For honors, you have a different question, right? Now, I will say this, is that I already know like the halfway covenant's kind of hard to understand. And so, because I'm so nice, I try to sometimes avoid a question sometimes that is a little bit, maybe a little bit too hard for your little minds, and just give you a little bit of a break there. But one of these 3, 4 is an extra credit question. One of the 3 is an extra credit question. And that means that you have to define, explain, describe that. And so that's a freebie there. Okay, so, what's it out? No, just wants to say, okay, all right. Let's see, going into the next section. All right, so on page 78, we get into the demographics here. Okay, so on page 78, you had a lot of information, all right? Now, it wasn't super complicated. It was just basic, what was the population at 1775, right? What was the average lifespan? What was the most populous colonies in 1775, okay? And I mentioned this, and when I was talking about it, you had to know these in order. Okay, you need to know these in order, okay? Now, again, if you don't see it on the quiz, chances are you're gonna see it today or tomorrow, all right? So that information there, again, when you have little details, little things, you have to write that stuff down. Don't just kind of glaze at it and go, I got it, okay? Because people, again, you just miss one little thing, it throws the whole thing off. We already talked about the people groups coming on over here, the Germans and the Scots-Irish. On page 85, we talked about the different groups, the different jobs, ministers and doctors and so on. The big question that was on the quiz was about the diseases, right? We were talking about that. Then on trades, on page 86, the economies, we already talked about that. Let's see here. Okay, so on page 89, on the denominations, again, so you have the word established, and so you know it's going to come up again, which denominations are described as established denominations, okay? There's only 2, bam, 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 bam.
Congregational and Anglican?
You got it. Yeah, it says it right there in your book. Yeah, tax supported, yeah, okay. All right, and then you have the charty thing with the denominations, like who's the biggest, who's next, who's next, who's next. So make sure you look at that, all right? Now, typically I'm not gonna ask you all of them. That would be like incredibly amazing if you knew all of them. I'd be impressed, but you don't need to. But you do need to know, obviously, the big guns, the Puritans outweigh everybody else, okay? And you need to know where they're at. If you don't know where the Puritans at this point, I can't help you, all right? Yeah. Same about the Anglicans, again, you're good there, all right. The Great Awakening, make sure you've got a good handle on the Great Awakening. Usually people really stumble on this question. Remember again what it is, and how do you know that it's supernatural? I've been arguing that over and over and over and over again, right? And it's partly connected to, an example of this is Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God, right? Jonathan Edwards, right? The dates are very vague on purpose, okay? Because remember, it's 1730s, 1740s, goes about 2 decades, right? All over the place. The new lights, old lights, that was one of your key terms. Make sure that's a monkey can know that. George Whitefield. I will say one of the either honors or regulars, you have a multiple choice question on George Whitefield. So heads up on that. They can be tricky about George Whitefield. So if you're vague about, you don't even know who George Whitefield is, I'm talking about it, and you don't even know what I'm talking about. Yeah, you might want to go back and read George Whitefield. And also remember, again, with Edwards and Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God, explain it. What's going on in that story, right? What happens? We already talked about the schools, the colleges, the Ivy League schools, so that's pretty easy to know. Okay, so the paintings. Okay, so you need to master that. Okay, there's only 4 or 5 stinking painters. Okay, there's not a whole lot of it. It's not the Renaissance. Okay, so again, you know about Trumbull. You need to know about Peale. You need to know about Copley. You need to know about who else?
You're guessing
Benjamin West.
Benjamin West. All right. Yeah, that's it. And just make sure you know the artist with the painting and then anything that's describing it, like who's the subject or what's unusual about this painting. Or anything we talk about in class is fair game, right?
Do we need to know dates for the?
You do not have to know any dates with the paintings. Okay. Not this gonna help.
Well,
Okay,
I
so,
have them all memorized.
make sure again, you get that nailed down. You got about at least 5 questions to connect to the paintings, all right? At least 5, yeah. So again, that's either gonna be fantastic for you or it's gonna be miserable for you. Okay, all right. Then you do have a question about Benjamin Franklin, of course. So it can either relate to his wise sayings, which is you should know where those are coming from. Okay, it was actually a bold type, in your book. Okay, or his inventions, Okay, so make sure you heads up on that. And then finally, when we talk about colonial folkways, about kind of what colonial life at the time, it talks about the type of food they're eating. It talks about just their life, the quality of life. They don't have indoor plumbing. It's that kind of stuff. How they party down. Make sure you know about that as far as entertainment, and which holidays they would celebrate. Now remember, different regions. Remember, there's 3 regions. You have North, Middle, South. They do different things. In the South, generally, they're a little bit more crazy, right? They're a little bit more partiers, all right? In the middle, they're kind of in between, those crazy Quakers, and in the North, they're really strict. New England, right? They're yeah. Okay, so heads up on that. All right, any questions up to this point? You have about 3 or 4 minutes left. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
I never held.
I know, that's, yeah, you're like a restless spirit. Anything else? Okay, it sounds like you got a pretty good handle on this. Everything will turn out great.
Good thing it's Monday.
Good thing it's Monday.
Wait, Mr. Norman.
Yes.
Where did the Scott-Irish immigrants settle after Pittsburgh?
I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, they're the front. They're the woodsmen. They're the out here. They're out in the woods.
Are they Anglican or
Okay.
What's that?
what's their denomination?
Presbyterian.
They're Presbyterian.
They're Scots. They're Scottish. Okay. You ever seen Brave? I forget it.
When it comes to Paxton Boys, you should watch that movie. When it comes to Paxton Boys, just think Scots from riding.
There you go. We did talk about their distilleries and stuff. So yeah.
Did anyone read for English? I mean, for
Oldies.
Hey, Cole.
I looked over it. I read the first half, so I read it this morning.